woke, liberal, feminist, even.
Whoa, are we
Can
allowed to say that?
Find suicidal deers, Greg.
My butt's half cold.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll punch it up later. Punchabletbutts.com.
Okay.
You were formerly the head of BLM, right?
For Utah, yeah.
Black Lives Matter, or was that?
We need the person in charge of the land to not be bribed.
That's right.
So, have you ever been bribed?
Every day I hear people say that the environment is in danger, that the planet is in peril. You might even think there's no hope left for humanity. It's easy to dwell in despair, but I decided to do something about it. I assembled a team of experts, some of the best experts on environmental issues in this country, to come together to solve each and every one of these issues. And tonight, I think we'll crack the formula here at the Firepit. Let me introduce you to Beth Stelling, liberal comedian hailing from the land of Holly Weird,
Hey.
probably woke as well. And let me introduce you to Greg Sheehan, conservative Utah hunter, president and CEO of the Mule Deer Foundation. They are no doubt formidable enemies, but tonight they're gonna have to put all of that aside to solve the planet.
Hands in.
Yeah.
Greg,
teamwork.
jump in.
Did I mischaracterize either of you in any way whatsoever?
I mean, you could add feminist in there if we want to stir up some hate.
Ooh, woke feminist.
Yeah.
Okay, anything
Woke,
else?
liberal, feminist, even.
Whoa, are we
Can we
allowed to
say
say
that?
that?
No, I'm nice.
You said we're allowed.
I'm a stand-up comedian, have been for the last 18 years. I also write for television, different shows,
Cool.
and I do punch-up for movie. Just one. No, I do punch-up for movies. Okay.
I don't know about all of the industry. What does punch up mean in a movie? Is that like if it goes
Basically,
bad and you get in a fight?
If there is a script and it's written, I would come in and offer jokes to make it funnier, or the funniest it could be.
I need you in my office every day. 'Cause my wife's like, you're so damn boring.
You do need me.
She's like, get a joke. I'm like, let me go to ChatGPT and get a joke. If you ever get a joke on ChatGPT, they can be questionable at times. Like,
I don't use it.
Greg, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure,
in a
I'm
proper
Greg
way?
Sheehan. I'm the president and CEO of the Mule Deer Foundation, a conservative hunter.
Whoa.
What is that, conservative hunter? I guess that means I
Like you
don't
kill
shoot
too
everything when I go hunting, right?
Right.
But I leave a few alive.
Much. Yeah, leave
or
some for
something
the
like
other
that.
animals.
That's right.
Try to
But
keep a couple alive.
yeah, I do have a lot of passion for the outdoors, for wildlife, and certainly hunting is a part of that. But you know, first we do conservation. If we're not successful at conservation, there's not going to be any hunting or fishing or any of that.
Beth, what is the Mule Deer Foundation?
The Mule Deer Foundation works to make sure there's a lot of mule deer to kill. But you
Like
can't,
conservative killers.
you can't
yes.
kill them if there aren't any. So you got to help them grow to kill them in a certain area. Some would say like fishing in your bathtub. You put a bunch of fish in there and then save some for the sewer system.
Right. So
Did I get it right?
That's perfect. I couldn't have said it better myself.
how can we make hunting sustainable in a way where shooting deer isn't that bad?
We try to manage and make sure that we're keeping appropriate ratios of the bucks and the does and the populations. And the first thing is having that healthy environment. And one of the challenges we're seeing right now is that our landscapes have changed a lot over the last 50 years. Our wildlife, our plants, species, sort of we have a change in this plant diversity. And it's really harming many of the species out there. And our mule deer populations are down range-wide 50 to 60% in the last 6 years. And it's not because we went and shot too many of them, right? It's that they have sort of these impacts, changes in invasive plants and weeds, poor forestry, cutting off migration corridors, that these species need to move. In the West, these species use big landscapes to move in, and disease impacts. So there's a whole sort of host of things that can affect severe winters, severe droughts. All of these things, when you add them together, are really hard on species. So we talk about hunting. you know, we really harvest a very low percent of that game that's on the landscape. That's not really a population driver per se.
To follow up on that question, as a comedy writer, why is comedy like the most important profession in the world, and how is it probably the best way to heal the political divides in our nation?
Well, I think comedy in general, laughter, humor, right? That's what helps heal the soul in many ways, right? Maybe political humor doesn't always heal it, but I think just humor in general, people want to laugh, right? They say if you're in bad health, you have cancer, you're in the hospital, whatever, humor is going to make you feel better. So I think that's important that we have that in our society. It's been around for thousands of years, and people love people who make us laugh. It helps bring us down and get grounded again so we can go out and kill more deer, right? So I think that's an important thing.
Can I change my answer about the Mule Deer Foundation?
Of course.
The Mule Deer Foundation is run by a cutie patootie that
wow.
loves comedy.
Hold on.
And they help the population of deer grow so that you can just shoot them a little bit, and then they help the ecosystem, because if you have too many, then they're going to destroy some of the trees, like perhaps the aspen trees, and there you have it.
Okay, well, it's not supposed to go this way. You guys aren't supposed to like each other yet.
Okay.
Okay, it's supposed to
Damn
be like
you,
a narrative
Beth.
arc. But I know you both went on like a hike together
Yeah.
and you're besties. So
Yeah.
what was Greg teaching you about nature today?
Today I did learn about, well, synthropic is what I learned about, right? Isn't that?
Synanthropic. Species
I'm missing
that,
the AN. Okay,
Right.
synanthropic. Syn meaning alike, and thropic meaning humans.
Whoa.
So basically, some of these animals, what the conversation was is I've got some wildlife in my backyard that eat off of my fruit trees.
Okay.
Skunks, possums, raccoons, coyotes, squirrels,
birds probably. too.
definitely a lot of birds, hummingbirds. And Greg was explaining to me that those animals are synanthropic, which means they benefit from humans being around. But today we learned a lot about the importance of not having an overpopulation of, say, deer mule, and finding the balance in it so that it can create an ecosystem that's healthy for everybody, which reduces wildfires, which reduces other types of things like that that would then harm humans. We need to keep the ecosystem balanced as best we can as humans and help the animals thrive. Otherwise, they're not going to have anywhere to live.
Sounds like he talked to you for a very long time.
Gosh, yeah, I needed a nap after it. This guy.
I talked a lot, and then she stepped in the mud.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
He
kind
did
of-
leave me through a lot of mud.
Oh, probably on purpose. a
Yeah,
little bit.
probably on
Some
purpose.
mud.
But then Greg helped me clean off my shoe.
Oh,
I don't know if he knew I was a woke liberal feminist yet.
okay. Well, now he knows. He's going to take it back. He's going to put the mud back in
I'm
your
gonna
shoes.
find some mud in my shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the thing that's most on my mind that worries me about the environment are data centers and people using GPT
Water.
and
usage.
water consumption. I understand that there's some recycling happening, but I do worry about the pollution, light, and water that are happening to more rural communities that don't maybe have the power to stop it.
Yeah.
That worries me big time. I'm
Well-
not a Chat GPT fan.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Greg, you were formerly the head of BLM, right?
For Utah, yeah.
Black Lives Matter, or was that?
It was U.S. Bureau of Land
Oh,
Management.
right.
But I,
other. Yeah,
But
okay.
Greg did put up a black square.
but I
Okay.
have to tell you, there's about 22.8 million acres of Bureau of Land Management public land in Utah. And everybody, that's all of our land. We all own our public lands. And so, but we also have laws on the books that talk about, describe, it's called FLTMA, but it's a law that dates back a number of decades, and it said, we're gonna use these lands for multiple use.
But also,
But-
you're a public servant. And so if your morality is compromised or somebody tries to bribe you, we have to make sure that Greg's a good guy. We need the person in charge of the land to not be bribed.
That's right.
So have
Well,
you ever been
like-
bribed?
Well, it's my understanding that during 2020, right, there was a big push with the Trump administration to get more of these federal lands to be used for like oil contractors. And
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong, but like while you were head of BLM,
I did. I worked for both under the Trump and Biden administrations.
Yeah.
So I got it, both of the philosophies.
And were they conflicting philosophies?
Not on every use, right? Things like everyone thinks when we say renewable energy, and then we say oil and gas and coal, right? Those are really polarizing, but there's a lot of stuff in the middle. There's recreation in the middle. There's, a number of other uses that we permit. There's some things that maybe not everyone loves, but they're necessities, right? We'll put major transmission line corridors. And some people might say, I don't like looking at it. Well, this is power that goes from Wyoming to California or whatever. So maybe not everybody likes some of these uses, but maybe there's more agreement on we kind of have to have these things, right? Because we can't turn our lights on if we don't have electricity, right? So, at the end of the first Trump administration, we there certainly was a movement to make sure we got permits issued for oil and gas, okay? And so we did a lot of those. Fast forward a few years, in the Biden administration, they said, we want lots of solar on our public lands, and we want lots of wind on our public lands. And people similarly say, don't like it, don't want to see it, don't want our public land where we go hiking or camping to be a big solar field with the big fence around it, right?
So you're like,
right or wrong,
Right.
this is how we use these lands, and not everybody agrees with them, but it's important that we need to make sure we listen to our public, first and foremost, right? What does the public say?
Yeah.
Because that's what they care about. People want to know that their government hears them.
But sometimes
That's
the
what we-
loudest people are the most annoying and wrong that's ever
There's
lived.
always the vocal minority and the silent majority in government.
Yeah.
And that's another hard thing in government, right? And
Yeah.
I've been in government a lot of, decades, is trying to understand what is the right thing for our population, not just the handful who show up.
Right.
Because there are a lot of loud voices who are that minority voice, because most people aren't worried about it. I never got bribed.
never got bribed. Let's make that clear.
On record.
No bribes.
Nobody ever said we'll give you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Your way?
Yeah, don't move your chair though, just your bun. Yeah.
My butt falls off.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We like to make everyone as comfortable as possible.
My butt's half cold.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'll help you warm it up afterwards if you want.
I'll punch it up later.
punch it up,
Punchablebutts.com.
Okay.
We're going to tell scary stories in the dark.
No!
We're going to tell a scary story about threats to the environment. And I'm going to lead it. I'm going to say one sentence. You're going to say the next sentence. You're going to say the next sentence. And we'll go in a circle.
Little caterpillar.
Once upon a time.
There was a little coyote.
That coyote was very, very hungry.
So that coyote crossed a really dangerous road.
And a car slammed on its brakes thinking that it was a dog.
That coyote wasn't the only thing dodging cars on that road, because mule deer, who have to migrate sometimes hundreds of miles every year, are trying to not be run over on the very same road that coyote was trying to get across.
Let him riff.
And then the mule deer collectivized and decided to attack the humans on the road because they recognized that that was their common enemy, and they murdered the family that was about to kill the coyote.
Thankfully, they had also just been bitten by zombies. So the family organized their own retaliation.
And the retaliation came quick and it came hard. Because much of the city revolted. At 3 in the morning, doors started opening. People started coming out onto the streets. And the deer were scared. Even more scared than they already were trying to cross the road.
Wow. And then the mule deer went extinct.
The end.
So much for my foundation, the Mule Deer Foundation.
This is a personal
It's a
It is a
Scary
scary
story.
story.
Oh my God.
Let's try to have a second ending, right? Like the movie Clue. Can we have like 2 or
Yeah.
3 endings? to
Why
this
don't you
story?
close it out for us, Greg?
Let's close it out. Let's close it out and say, our society rallied that we care about these mule deer and the 350 species that share the landscapes with them. They came together to look for solutions. And they helped these deer stop their 60-year decline and regrow at healthy levels on the landscape. So that one day, when Beth becomes a hunter for clean, natural protein, there's a deer for her to shoot.
Wow, that was a beautiful story.
BethStelling.com for tickets. I'll be here all week.
Wow. Beth, do you have any relationship to hunting in your life, or?
I'm from Ohio. I dated a Ohio lumberjack there for a while. He went deer hunting. There's aspects to it that are appealing to a lot of people. There's some solitude, you know, him sitting in a tree and having hours to reflect or read. There's parts of it that seem, of course, unfair, like washing your clothes with the particular soap so that deer can't smell you, or setting up cameras to know their tracks, or, you know, and shooting them with a gun. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we have to progress with time, so I don't expect people to be camping, you know, on the land and using a bow and arrow. But like those, I think that's what's harder for people to wrap some people's mind around, is like, well, that's not fair. It's not a fair fight. And in some cases, it's like, sure, like you have this land that people can go hunt on, but after further understanding, it's one of those things where it is necessary for a healthy ecosystem to create hunting. Times have changed, so now we're hunting with guns, and there's other tactics for it. So I definitely can see the idea of wanting to know where your meat's coming from. There is such a disconnect between us and our food. I'm not a vegetarian. I like meat. I will say I don't like the taste of veal. I have tried it, but it's one of those things where it's like I am so disconnected from it because that's society and our culture and everything like that. So sometimes I'm like, yeah, I can see the appeal, but it would also be very scary for me in a Stranger Things way to kill something and have to skin it, and you know. So that's the part that kind of prevents me from wanting to do it. I do feel bad for the animals. I'm sort of like, it's a deer and it's so cute. Why would we hurt it with a gun?
Yeah, why would we, Greg?
Why
would
wouldn't
we
you
do
just
that?
hug it?
Yeah.
Give it a little hug.
Any opportunities to try and hug it before you kill
Ask
it
if
with
it
a gun.
wants to die first. Find suicidal deers, Greg.
Well, you know, there's always highway roadkill.
Yeah,
There's
you can eat-
opportunities
you can
to
eat
pull
that.
over,
Okay.
pick some of those up.
I live
Okay,
strictly off of
okay.
roadkill.
All right, we're moving on. We're moving. Speaking of hunting, word hunting. That's the name of this segment we're
Word
about
hunting.
to do right now. I'm
Probably my
going
seat.
to shoot a single
melt it.
word at both of you.
Okay.
And you have to reply with the first thing on your mind.
So it's just word association.
A
Don't get
sentence.
canceled,
You
Greg.
can say it. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Nature.
Nurture.
My first thing was Conservancy, Nature Conservancy. It's another nonprofit, not mine. But
Hiking.
Biking.
outdoors. Don't melt those.
I know. Greg's worried about me.
Happens. It
Just trying to
happens.
warm him up at Toons.
Environmentalism.
Important.
Potentially extremism.
Have a rebuttal to that?
I don't know. I'm just picturing somebody chaining themselves to
I think
Greg's
of,
building.
when you say environmental, I think of environmental activists, right? Somebody
Yeah.
chaining themselves or going,
Or like making out with a tree.
yes, that's a big problem here.
Who doesn't do that now and then?
Environmental concerns, I have many of those. But when you said environmentalism, it almost feels like it almost felt like it pulls in that activist thing.
That's what I'm noticing. Every person I talk to, it's like it always comes down to language over environmentalism, climate change. It's almost like just we're arguing over semantics when it's like everyone generally agrees we want to protect the environment, but it's like if you say climate change, then
Well, that's the thing. We talked about that earlier today, where it's like, what's in it for people who don't believe in climate change?
Right?
Like, what's in it for you? Because it's happening, and it does affect our animals, our environment, everybody's life. So
Right.
I'm like, follow the money. People want to pretend it's not happening, so you keep buying oil.
I think we have a changing environment, right? And it's been changing for a while. We know what many of the causes are. Some of it may just be nature, rotating
Dying slowly.
rotating through. But what makes me sad at times is when people use climate change to just align themselves politically.
Like a dog whistle. Like, just so you know, climate change is a hoax.
I guess here's what I would say in all seriousness
People
about
jumping.
climate change. I think we do have change. We do have impacts. It is affecting our landscapes. It's affecting, creating droughts, severe droughts in many areas.
Fires.
It can lead to more severe weather. I guess what can become frustrating is everybody wants to quickly jump to, well, I know the solution, right? If I do this, then this won't be the case.
Yeah, it's
go
not just me
experience what we
recycling my
experience.
LaCroix can. It's probably billionaire companies or corporations that need to make bigger changes.
The reality we're in right now is we are where we are, and I think we need to figure out now is how are we adapting to this, right? And there'll be a group of people that will continue to fight that fight and cure what can be cured. I work for an organization where we say, here's the situation we're in, and how can we go help wildlife? How can we help these landscapes, these public lands in particular in the West, be healthy?
This segment is called Guest the Guess. And I will read real quotes that either of you have said, and you have to guess which one of you said it. These
Okay.
are actual quotes that we found that both of you have said.
They're going to be a little wilder because I've seen all of her
Did
material
Greg?
online.
Did you dip into Greg's text?
You guys
We're
can-
going to guess
What
if
we
it's
don't-
our own quote.
What if we don't
Yeah.
remember what we've said? I'm a loose
Exactly.
cannon.
She's got a bigger vocabulary than I.
All
I'm a
right.
very simple person.
right, all
I
right.
only know like 8 words.
This is one of the most important conservation and access actions taken in decades. Wildlife refuges exist because hunters built them.
Sounds like me.
All right.
No, it's Greg.
That was Greg.
Ding,
You
ding, ding,
remember
ding,
saying
ding, ding,
that?
ding. I probably said that. That's probably a quote when I was running the Fish and Wildlife Service in
Yeah, I
about
think it was.
2017, 18 back then. So.
Well, okay, next quote. This one's a little tricky. My family is endlessly supportive and proud of whatever I do.
Not me.
Your family wouldn't say that about you?
No.
It's me.
Yes,
My
I knew
mom's a
that.
cutie pie, and my sisters too.
Okay.
Yeah.
My family tolerates me.
They
If you'd have said
tolerate
that, I'd have been okay.
This was actually Greg. I'm just
No,
kidding.
no, that wasn't me. No way.
I love how you're like, that's impossible.
No,
That
Greg
would
is
not-
like, Greg is
no
like, my
way.
wife hasn't talked to me in
My
weeks.
wife's like, no.
Okay, fair. All right. Next one. If you can't get the deer in 3 shots, you shouldn't be hunting. You are an embarrassment.
I love the smoke. How many shots? 3 or under. Get off
3.
of my conservation.
That certainly sounds like a quote I would say.
Yeah.
But I don't remember when or where that was said.
Maybe
but,
after a couple
But you know,
of
I think that's a
beers.
great statement. If you can't kill it in 3 shots,
Yeah.
you're done.
You don't remember where you were January 1998?
Nope.
Being
That's-
interviewed by the news?
But
That's understandable because that's actually a quote from former President Joe Biden.
Oh, Joe with the smoke.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I think that was a pretty good quote.
Well, I thought it was one of us because I'm like,
I know, you tricked us.
I can do whatever I want.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But-
Fair enough. But that's a good
and-
quote. You got 3 shots. If you can't do it, then leave the poor
Right.
deer alone. Let him run over the hill.
I want to do one more round of word hunt.
Okay.
I'm going to ask both of you again.
One more round.
One word to each of you.
Are we taking turns?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Greg, the word Beth Stelling.
Funny. Outgoing. Well-spoken. And willing to talk about dang near anything. That was a lot of words.
That was
That's perfect.
beautiful.
I couldn't have said those if I hadn't watched all of her stuff. And I almost mentioned some of the stuff I've heard her talk about online, but it's just PG.
Okay, gotcha. Understood. Okay, Beth.
Yeah.
Greg Sheehan.
Greg Sheehan. A real Renaissance man. Kind, knowledgeable, willing to, I feel like passionate about sharing the knowledge that he has. He was so caring and considerate of me and accepting, and I don't know, I feel like it was really, telling me that you prepared and watched some of my stuff and you were open to who I am and not judgmental. And
Beth.
yeah.
Greg.
Yes.
Would you both care to take a beautiful family Christmas photograph with me?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to.
love that.
I'd be honored.
I'd be honored.
Same.
All right, let's go do that.
Let's
Let's
do that.
confuse
Thank
all of
you.
our loved ones.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you.
We're talking shit around the fire pit, you know. Perfect fit around the fire pit, you know.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, or else the planet won't be saved. Ooh. No, I'm not gonna promise that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ooh, or else the algorithm will get ya.